My name is Emily Hartley. I'm 33 years old. He barked, a worthless scrap. I don't say a word. I don't even blink. We're standing beneath the glass rotunda of the Pentagon's east atrium. The morning light cuts down through the skylight like a scalpel sharp and sterile, polished marble beneath my boots, the stars and stripes behind me. Dozens of shoulders squared to face the podium, military brass civilian suits and press all packed together for the Defense Innovation Medal ceremony. Colonel Thomas Roberts, my former commanding officer, stands 3 feet away, his voice loud enough to reach the tech staff near the rear wall. He's not looking at me when he says it. That would require acknowledging I'm here. Instead, he addresses it to no one in particular, a performance for the nearby aides, pretending not to listen. I feel my fingers twitch against my thigh. I clench them still. The words hit hard because he meant them to. A few people shift uneasily as if they heard something inappropriate but aren't sure if they're allowed to react. No one speaks up. No one corrects him. Across the atrium, a 4-star General Stockton holds a sealed dossier. His thumb strokes the edge of the folder. It's heavy. Official. His gaze drops to the name etched on its front. He pauses, looks up, straight at me. His expression doesn't change much, but I see it the momentary stiffness of his mouth. A blink that takes too long. Recognition. And then the podium mic fizzles and goes silent. A strange hush settles over the atrium. The stillness feels colder than the light. No one notices the silver oak clusters pinned near my collar. They blend in against the blue of my uniform. The ribbons, though polished, are subtle. I don't wear anything flashy. I never have. Colonel Roberts chuckles to himself. A few of the brass standing nearby shift their weight, suddenly more aware of the silence. No one's sure whether to laugh or move. I remain motionless. I don't clear my throat. I don't look around. My pulse stays calm, trained metered. My silence does the work for me. Someone coughs near the podium. Another voice murmurs in a comm line, trying to fix the mic feed. I hear the quiet buzz of the fluorescent lights above. I smell furniture polish and aging varnish. I can feel every bone in my spine stacked in restraint. I know what this is. I've been through worse. Colonel Roberts doesn't speak again, but his posture tells the rest. Chin high, shoulders back, hands folded like he's made of marble sculpted in the likeness of authority. He used to talk over me in briefing rooms. Call me that girl in ops when I brought up critical intelligence. When I corrected a satellite misread, he said, "Cute catch." When my drone recalibration saved his convoy, he gave credit to the junior lieutenant next to me. He's still playing the part, but something is off now. Something is breaking, and I feel it not in him, but in the room. Because General Stockton hasn't moved. He's still holding the dossier, and he's still staring at me. His fingers tighten ever so slightly, and then wordlessly, he pivots toward the defense secretary. I hear their low voices, the clatter of a chair leg scraping behind me. And then someone says, "Ma'am, would you step forward?" All eyes shift. I hear my own name spoken softly. Captain Emily Hartley. Colonel Roberts turns his head, and I take one slow step toward the center. The air changes as I walk. One step, then another. The sound of my boots echoes softly against the floor. It's not loud, but it's the only thing anyone can hear. The podium tech still fumbles with the mic. A junior staffer adjusts her headset but doesn't speak. My steps are deliberate, not defiant. I don't meet anyone's eyes. I don't need to. The walk from the edge of the atrium to the stage is 29 steps. I've counted them before. Today, they feel shorter. Not because I'm rushing, but because the weight I've carried for years doesn't sit the same way anymore. When I reach the platform, I stop precisely where they told me I would. There's a paper in the general's hand now. He's opened the dossier. And he's reading. His lips tighten as he skims the page. His eyebrows shift slightly like he's doing the math on something that shouldn't add up. I see the line on the second page. I know what it says. It's the only line that ever made me hesitate. I was marked for discharge once. Disciplinary review pending non-compliant with chain of command. That was his doing, Roberts. He filed it after I reported the failed satellite intercepts that compromised the Afghan convoy routes. He called it insubordination. What I did saved lives, but it embarrassed him, So he tried to erase me. It didn't work. General Stockton keeps reading. I stay silent. I don't need to speak. The weight of the paper in his hand is louder than anything I could say. Colonel Roberts hasn't moved. His arms are stiff now, his mouth a thin line. He looks away. His jaw ticks. His eyes fall on the ribbons on my chest, finally seeing them maybe for the first time. Still, I don't move. I keep my spine straight, my chin even. The general nods once subtly. Then he speaks into the mic, now repaired, the feedback gone. The next recipient of the Defense Innovation Medal is Captain Emily Hartley. A pause. Then, for field classified operations under Joint Task 88, we commend her for service that exceeded expectation, preserved human lives, and above all, demonstrated extraordinary clarity under fire. A quiet breath escapes the front row. A few turn their heads toward me. They're not clapping yet, not until someone signals it's okay. I look past them, toward the wall, and there, against the far edge of the atrium, a Marine captain stares at me. Recognition flares in his eyes. He straightens instinctively, and he salutes. Not because someone told him to, but because he knows who I am. I return the salute. I don't smile. And then, just as the room begins to shift, just as everyone realizes something has changed, Colonel Roberts steps back. He looks smaller now, and the Marine lowers his hand. The silence that follows is the loudest sound in the room. The medal is still in my hand when I leave the stage. I don't stay for the group photo. I don't shake his hand. Instead, I walk out the side exit past the rows of polished portraits and into the quieter corridor of the south wing. The clatter and claps fall behind me like dust. The marble turns to carpet. The lights dim. I sit alone in the hallway under a wall of plaques and let the silence settle in. This is the part no one knows. This is the part I never say out loud. My family doesn't talk about service. Not the kind I chose. My father, he taught civics at a public high school for 34 years, wore a tie every day, raised his voice only twice in my entire life. He didn't understand the military, but he respected stability. When I enlisted, he thought it was a phase. He used to say, "Real strength isn't loud, Emily. It's reliable." My mother didn't say much either way. She cooked, kept the house quiet. She believed in holidays and grocery lists and thank you cards. My mother never hugged for long. My brother, though, Nathan. He's the reason Roberts ever knew my name. Nathan was the golden one, 2 years older. ROTC West Point active duty straight out of the gate. By the time I applied to OCS, he already had a Bronze Star and a promotion packet waiting on his desk. He called me Little Hartley. Said it with a smile that was half affection, half dismissal. When I got in when I was commissioned, he laughed and said, "Don't screw it up." And I didn't. Not then. I followed every rule. I showed up early. I didn't speak unless asked. I didn't decorate my desk or wear perfume or let anyone see when my hands shook before an op. I learned fast. I became necessary. But I never became visible. Not in the way that mattered. C. Nathan served in combat arms infantry high-profile assignments, ribbon ceremonies. I served in intel, classified support, data interpretation, signal triangulation, drone oversight. The work that doesn't get parades. The work that goes unseen on purpose. When the Kabul intercept failed, I caught the error. I rerouted a ground convoy away from an ambush. 14 soldiers lived because of it, but the briefing notes credited satellite adjustments. Roberts told the room I was good with computers, that's all. Later, when I flagged a second system error and bypassed the chain to alert CENTCOM, the memo came down fast. Unilateral action, breach of protocol, needs retraining. Nathan said nothing. When I asked him quietly off base just once if he could speak to someone, pull a thread, even just to tell them I wasn't being reckless, he exhaled and looked away. "You have to understand how this works," he said. Then added, "You're not exactly built for politics." That hurt more than I expected. It wasn't the words. It was how casually he said them, like it was already settled. A few months later, Roberts moved him into a joint command position. I saw the transfer file. It was clean. I wasn't surprised. After that, I stopped asking. I stopped speaking at all unless it was about data. The less they saw me, the better I performed. I slept on steel bunks and under makeshift tarps inside containers humming with servers. I recalibrated drone flight paths in pitch dark at 3:00 a.m. while mortars landed 5 miles out. I helped avert 3 additional ambushes with no signatures left behind. I never once asked for recognition. I just wanted to do the job. But back home, none of it mattered. At Thanksgiving, my uncle who sells insurance in Ohio once said, "So you just do computers, right?" My cousin called me desk military. My mother told me I should wear softer colors. Nathan. He just smiled like he knew something I didn't. He brought his new girlfriend that year. She was polite, soft-spoken, very blonde. Said she'd never met a female soldier before, like I was a photograph or a news clipping. I washed dishes in silence while they all laughed in the living room. At Christmas, my name wasn't on the ornament tree. My deployment dates were never mentioned. When I sent back a Bronze Star citation from a mission I can't name, my father nodded once and said, "Don't let that go to your head." I didn't. I let it go somewhere deeper. That's the thing about silence. It doesn't just sit. It roots. By the time Roberts filed the formal complaint about me subverting command channels, I was too worn to fight it. I signed the rebuttal, passed the psyche eval, and took reassignment without comment. Nathan didn't call. Not even once. He knew about the reprimand. He knew the impact it would have on my track. He said nothing. I imagine he thought he was protecting me by staying out of it. Or maybe it was just easier that way. For everyone. Out of sight. Out of promotion charts. Out of family conversation. For the next 3 years, I was stationed on a base with no name in a desert with no map. And yet, somehow, I made something of it. I led a team of 6. We secured signal tracking across 32 Allied operations. We maintained complete blackout and full extraction readiness. Our latency margins were the best in the division. Still, no one asked. Still, Nathan never said my name in briefings. Still, my parents told friends I was working in logistics. That's what they say when they don't know or don't want to know. "She's not like Nathan," my aunt once said. "He's a real soldier." They all nodded, even my mother. It's strange, isn't it? How someone can erase you with a smile. Not a confrontation, not an argument. Just quiet, consistent invisibility, like a chalk outline in a room full of guests. But chalk outlines don't fade when the lights come on. They wait. They stay. I stayed. And eventually, somehow I rose. Not because they cleared the path, but because I carved it with my own bare hands. It started with a red folder, just like the one the general held, but lighter, thinner, no seal, no weight. It was slid across my bunk one morning without a word. A silent delivery from the aide who wouldn't meet my eyes. I didn't open it right away. I waited. Let the stillness speak to me first. I already knew what it said. The contents were printed in triplicate. A reassignment, not a promotion, not even a lateral shift. Demotion. To admin. No explanation in the margins, no remarks in the personnel review, just a code special reallocation, non-command clearance. It was a bureaucratic death sentence. They don't shoot you, they erase you. One form at a time. I sat on the edge of my cot with the paper open on my lap. My boots were still dusty. My name looked strange in black ink, like it belonged to someone else. Captain Emily Hartley, effective immediately transfer to Logistics Entry Review, Region 6, Satellite Facility Unclassified. That last word cut the deepest. Unclassified. They didn't just demote me. They stripped my clearance. Years of operational security gone. Years of threading needles through chaotic war zones, pulling lives out of rubble with keystrokes and drone sweeps. None of it mattered anymore. Unclassified meant they didn't trust me. Or maybe they just didn't want me close. I didn't protest. I packed my duffel in silence. My team never got a chance to say goodbye. I wasn't allowed to tell them where I was going. They replaced me within 24 hours with a man who called satellites those sky cameras. No one blinked. It would have been easier if it had been one person, one betrayal, one enemy. But it wasn't. It was layered, quiet, institutional. I wasn't accused of anything, just excluded. No one wants to be the one who speaks up for the shadow in the room. I was that shadow. Everyone could feel it. In the new post, they gave me a gray metal desk in a room that smelled like printer toner and old linoleum. I shared a wall with a server unit that buzzed night and day. No windows, no mission. My job was to verify equipment tags. I once designed a flight protocol that saved an entire field unit from a drone jam. And now I was cross-checking inventory for extension cords and barcode scanners. At lunch, the other staff barely spoke to me. They made polite small talk, weather, sports. They didn't ask about my rank or why I was there, but I could feel it. They knew. Someone had briefed them. One afternoon, I overheard a whisper in the hallway. Wasn't she the one who disobeyed the colonel? It wasn't even said with malice, just curiosity, like I was an odd case file in someone's drawer. That night, I sat on the base cot with the folder open again. I read every line of the reassignment order, every stamped date, every name. Nathan's wasn't on it, but I knew he'd seen it. There's no way he hadn't. I called his secure line. It went to voicemail. I called again. Left nothing. On the third try, he answered. He said flatly. I didn't speak for a second. Then I asked, did you know a pause? Then it wasn't my call. I nodded, though he couldn't see me. They took my clearance. I know. Silence stretched like barbed wire between us. You could have said something. His exhale came sharp, impatient. It wouldn't have made a difference. You think I haven't had to make sacrifices too. I swallowed. This wasn't a sacrifice, I said. It was an execution. You're being dramatic. That was the moment. Not the folder. Not the reassignment. That. The way he said it, like I was the problem. Like my entire identity had narrowed into one inconvenient woman who refused to stay quiet. I remember staring at the metal wall across from my bed, hand clenched around the receiver. I saved lives, I whispered. I know you did. Then why won't anyone say it? He didn't answer. I hung up. After that, I stopped calling. Stopped looking up command logs. Stopped requesting updates from my old team. They were ghosts to me now. Or maybe I was the ghost. There's a specific kind of betrayal that doesn't scream. It simply leaves the room and never comes back. I was left with 4 beige walls, a desk, a flickering light panel, and my own name echoing in an empty hallway. Even my mother wrote less. She sent a birthday card. It was late. Inside, she wrote hope. This year brings clarity. Clarity. As if confusion was my issue. As if I just didn't understand why I'd been pushed out of my own story. They didn't just take my title. They took my shape. They made me small, invisible, forgettable. And the worst part, they made me believe it might be true. The light in the Region 6 office flickered every 20 seconds. I never reported it. The buzz was constant. The vibration hummed in my jaw when I sat too close to the wall. Most days I kept my desk lamp off and sat in half shadow. No one came by to check. There were no mission briefings, no deadlines, no maps with coded legends, no encrypted channels blinking urgent across my monitor. Just spreadsheets, equipment logs, and requests for cable replacements that no one actually needed. Every morning I walked past my own name on a placard too small for the title it used to hold. Just E. Hartley. No rank, no unit. A man down the hall, staff tech Laramie, once asked if I was new. I'd been there 5 months. I started folding napkins into quarters at lunch. I stopped bringing coffee. I stopped talking to the vending machine guy who always asked if I wanted peanuts. The truth, I didn't want anything. There was a day early spring, I think, when I stayed in bed until noon. I didn't call out. No one noticed. No one missed the data entry from Bay 3. No one followed up. I stared at the ceiling for hours. It was cracked in one corner. A line of shadow ran across it like a fracture that never healed, like something about the building itself was broken. It echoed something in me. There were no tears, no shaking fits or grand meltdowns. I just lay there, staring, breathing, wondering if I had ever actually mattered. It's not that they erased me in one blow. It's that they sanded me down piece by piece, made me question my instincts, my value, my voice. They didn't call me a liar. They just stopped listening. And after enough silence, you begin to wonder if you ever made a sound at all. I wrote a resignation letter 4 times. I never printed it. Each version was shorter than the last. The final one was just 3 sentences. I respectfully decline further assignments. I acknowledged the terms of separation. Thank you. I kept it saved in a private folder labeled Exit Strategy. The irony stung. There was a moment late one night when I thought about disappearing completely. Not dying. Not anything like that. Just going. Changing my name. Driving west. Becoming someone else in some town with no military bases, no Roberts, no Nathan, no folders. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere that didn't remember me. I had enough saved. I could work at a bookstore, a plant nursery. I could spend my life arranging begonias or alphabetizing hardcovers by author's last name. And no one would ever say Captain again. But every time I got close to it, close to really leaving, I heard the sound of a drone engine. A faint mechanical whine, the memory of it like a whisper between my ribs. The memory of watching a flicker on a satellite feed that no one else caught. A convoy rerouted. 14 lives spared. One moment no one recorded, but I remembered. That's what saved me, I think. Not patriotism, not principle. Memory. The cold, exacting truth of what I had done, what I knew, even if they wouldn't speak it. There was power in that. But I didn't feel powerful. Not yet. I felt tired. Worn in the way metal bends after too much pressure. Functional, but changed. Still, I didn't leave. I got up. I brushed my teeth. I put on the uniform they stopped checking, and I walked into the same gray room with the same gray light. Day after day, waiting for something to shift. It didn't come in the form I expected. One morning, I opened a shipping manifest and saw a name I recognized, a name I hadn't heard in over a year. Lieutenant Ramirez. She'd served under me in Task 88. Quiet, meticulous, brilliant with drone optics. We'd lost touch after my reassignment. I assumed she'd been relocated, or told to forget me like the rest. But there she was, listed as the incoming tech specialist for an upgrade program 3 states away. My name was listed under audit lead. No one had told me. It was a clerical error. Someone had autofilled my name from an old approval log. But it was enough. I printed the manifest, stared at it. The file had a field labeled Project Origin. It said Hartley Protocol, V2. My hands shook as I folded the page. Someone had remembered. Someone had used the drone calibration method I'd built. They hadn't credited me out loud, but my name was still buried in the system. Still part of the code. A glitch in the erasure. A crack in the wall. I sat very still that day. Let the moment wash over me. I didn't tell anyone, but it was the first time in months I didn't feel invisible. Even a shadow can reflect something. That night, I didn't open the resignation folder. I deleted it, not because I had a plan, but because for the first time in a long time, I believed I still existed. It started with a pen, black ink, thin nib, government issue. I took the manifest with my name on it, the one labeled Hartley Protocol, V2, and slipped it into a new folder, one with a navy blue cover, not red, not gray, just blue, clean, neutral, undeniable. I didn't walk it into an office. I didn't file a formal complaint. I didn't even tell Ramirez I'd seen her name. I simply began to build, quietly, precisely. My first request was small an audit of legacy drone protocols across logistics divisions. I framed it as a routine QC measure standard oversight part of annual systems checks. No one questioned it. Most didn't care enough to read it through. I got the approval in 6 days. Then I asked for 3 temp staffers to support the data review. I requested all females, former enlisted, with tech clearance. I said it was part of a new mentorship initiative. They gave me one. Corporal Jess Nguyen, 26, sharp eyes, a laugh like broken glass and wind. She didn't know who I was, but she listened. Closely. I trained her without ceremony. Just long hours over screens watching patterns, identifying the gaps between code and reality. The way small anomalies always predicted something larger. She learned fast. After 2 weeks, I copied the original protocol, my protocol, onto a secure drive, version 3, and then I tested it. Not in a war zone, in a warehouse. We rerouted cargo drones to simulate high-stress interference, used heat decoys and variable GPS masks. The algorithm performed with 98% correctional accuracy. The base threshold was 82. I filed it all under standard equipment improvement. Nobody noticed the name in the footer EHV3. It was buried deep in the XML, but I knew it was there. And so did Nguyen. She never asked why I was doing all of it, not directly, but I saw it in the way she watched me, the way she leaned forward when I spoke, the way she stopped calling me ma'am after the 3rd week and just nodded when I walked into the room. We were building something invisible, and it was working. Eventually, I requested to brief the Region 6 director on efficiency improvements. He was late to the meeting, never opened the slide deck. But when I pulled up the logistics stats when I showed him the numbers, his eyes flicked. Just once. And then again. "You did this?" he asked. I nodded. He didn't say thank you. He just said, "Send it to DC." I did. No signature, no commentary, just the results. 6 weeks passed, then came the invitation. A briefing at the Pentagon, not a speech. A shadow room, 12 seats, no cameras, one screen. I didn't tell anyone in the office. I booked my flight. I wore the uniform they'd forgotten I still had. When I landed, there was a black sedan waiting. No driver's name. Just a clipboard with Hartley in block letters. I sat in the back seat with the folder on my lap. My hands were still. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel vindicated. I felt aligned, as if all the noise had finally gone quiet inside me. In the meeting, they didn't ask about Roberts or Nathan or the reassignment. They asked about the code. They asked about EHV3. I answered simply, technically, with no trace of bitterness. When they asked why I'd never submitted the original protocol for official recognition, I paused, then said it wasn't the right time. They didn't push. One of the analysts at the table, a civilian in his 50s with sharp silver hair and an unlit cigarette behind his ear, tilted his head. "You were sidelined," he said, not unkindly. I didn't respond. He nodded anyway, like he respected the silence. At the end, a woman in Air Force blues stood and said, "We're launching a multi-division integration project. We'll need someone to oversee protocol compliance." Quietly, I said I'm available. She smiled. "Just a flicker, we know." When I returned to Region 6, I didn't unpack. I filed my transfer paperwork before anyone asked why. Corporal Nguyen looked at me wide-eyed. "You leaving?" she asked. "Yes." She didn't say anything else, just stood, lifted her hand, and saluted. It was the first salute I'd received in over a year. I returned it, then handed her the Navy folder. "Finish what we started," I said. Her voice was steady. "Yes, ma'am." My new assignment wasn't glamorous. It wasn't loud, but it mattered. Protocol compliance doesn't make headlines, but it makes history, especially when lives depend on the smallest mistake never happening. I spent most of my days in war rooms without windows, reviewing logs, training operatives who didn't know my name, watching missions unfold that would never be declassified, and still, I never signed anything with more than 2 letters. Each. Let the system guess. I wasn't interested in being seen. I was interested in being felt. Nguyen sent me a coded message 3 months later. Just 3 words. "It's working, ma'am." That was enough. I didn't need applause. I just needed proof that the shadow they tried to exile me into was never empty. It was shelter. It was structure. It was mine. The rotunda looks the same. Clean marble floors, flags at attention, white light washing the pillars like bone. The seats are arranged in rows, neat and forgettable. I sit at the back. I wasn't on the original guest list. The invitation came 2 weeks prior. Plain envelope, no return address. The card inside was heavy thick stock with black script. Defense Innovation Medal Presentation, East Atrium, Pentagon. ERO 900 hours attire, full dress, no name, no seat number, just that. At first I wasn't going to go. I didn't need another stage, another room full of people trained not to see me. but then I saw the memo that listed the recipients, and I saw my name, Emily Hartley, not E, not hidden in a footer, front and center. I pressed my fingers to the paper, just to make sure it was real. So I went, not to be honored, but to watch, to see if it was true that I'd become visible again. When I enter, no one looks twice. I find my seat quietly, the last row on the right. The atrium fills with brass and metals and people who use words like valor and merit, like they're measuring tools. I keep my hands folded. My uniform fits better now, not because it changed, because I stopped shrinking inside it. I see Nathan across the room, polished shoes, confident smile. He's shaking hands with a colonel I don't recognize. He doesn't see me. Of course he doesn't. The ceremony begins. Speeches, a montage on the projection screen footage of drones convoys evacuations, strategic successes. They say words like unprecedented leadership, decisive action under pressure. I recognize 3 of the missions. None of them are supposed to exist, and yet here they are, sanitized, public. A man steps to the podium, reads from a prepared note. Then another name is called, applause, then another, and then Colonel Roberts steps forward. He's aged, slightly, but the posture's the same rigid spine, tight jaw voice like gravel polished with power. He speaks about innovation, mentions young officers pushing boundaries. Then he pauses, looks down at his notes, and says, though not all ideas come from expected places, some prove themselves louder than metals. The irony is thick. I almost smile. Almost. He reads a name, not mine. The applause follows hollow and polite. Then General Stockton walks to the front. He carries a white dossier. My name is printed across the front. I feel it before he says it. Something clicks into place, like metal meeting its lock. He opens the folder, reads silently, then looks up, directly at me. He doesn't say anything, just makes a subtle motion with his fingers. A gesture, a call. Someone from the side aisle moves toward me. Captain Hartley, they whisper. I nod and stand. The room shifts. Eyes follow me now, curious, uncertain. I walk slowly, deliberately. My boots make soft contact with the floor, steady, grounded, sure. I pass rows of faces I don't recognize, then ones I do. Stockton waits. When I reach the front, he doesn't offer a handshake. He opens the dossier wider, holds it for all to see. I recognize the first document. It's EHV3, stamped, signed, classified markings removed, my signature intact. There's a silence in the room. People lean in. General Stockton turns to the crowd. He speaks calmly. Captain Emily Hartley, he says, is being awarded the Defense Innovation Medal for the creation and implementation of a classified field protocol that, according to independent assessment, preserved over 200 Allied lives across 7 global theaters. A breath leaves the room. He continues. She developed this under adverse conditions with no formal support. Her work was buried, suppressed, but it endured, it protected, and it evolved. He turns back to me. We see you now, Captain. Then, slowly, he salutes. 4 stars, 1 salute. The room follows. One by one, hands rise to foreheads. Colonels, captains, generals, even Nathan. He's standing now. His mouth is open slightly, stunned. His hand rises unsure. He salutes too. But I don't look at him. I don't need to. The silence is enough. No one claps. No one speaks. The recognition doesn't roar. It resonates. Deep. Unmistakable. I return the general's salute, then take the folder. I don't speak. I don't say thank you. I don't offer a speech. That was never what this was about. I simply turn and walk back through the room that once forgot me and now can't. It's been 3 years. The folder lives in a locked drawer in my home office. I don't display the medal. I never have. It stays in its velvet case pressed between old maps and drone specs from another life. Sometimes I forget it's even there. The Pentagon never called again. Not officially. But 2 of the protocols I helped design, EHV3 and V4, are now standard in joint ops across 4 command theaters. No one says my name when they reference them, but I see the watermark in the code, the fingerprints. That's enough. Nguyen now oversees her own unit. She still sends me updates encrypted and sparse. All stable, ma'am, or protocol held in live test, no losses. Once she just wrote still building. I wrote back so was I, because I never stopped. When the Pentagon faded into the rear view, I moved west, a town with more sky than structure, a place where the stars don't fight city lights. I bought a small house on a hill. It's quiet here, no uniform, no salutes, just purpose. I started teaching, not in a university, in a converted storage room behind the town's only library. I keep the door open, the chalk dust soft in the air. It smells like ink and old paper. Feels like safety. They come in ones and twos, veterans, coders, kids who've aged out of the system, girls who've never held a screwdriver, boys with calloused hands and nothing to do with them. I don't teach war. I teach precision, pattern recognition, satellite mapping, communication protocols, silent systems that hold the world together even when no one claps for them. Especially then. One of my students, Maria, asked me once, "Did you ever win anything?" I paused, then said, "Yes." She smiled, expecting to hear a story. I didn't tell it. I just showed her how to override a corrupted signal chain with 4 keystrokes and a backup node. She laughed. Cool. That was enough. Some stories live better unspoken. People from the old life still reach out sometimes. Nguyen, a tech lead from DC, a soft-spoken analyst who once read my file backwards and figured it out. Even Nathan. He called last winter. Said he'd been thinking about me. Said he'd watched the replay of the medal ceremony on some internal archive. I didn't say anything. He said I should have said something sooner. I said, "But you didn't." He waited like there might be forgiveness coming. There wasn't, not in the way he meant. But there was peace. "Goodbye, Nathan," I said. And that was the last time we spoke. I don't hate him, but I don't carry him anymore. That's the difference. What they took from me wasn't just position, or reputation, or clearance. They took the mirror I used to see myself through, and handed it to people who never deserved to hold it. Now, I don't use a mirror at all. I use action. There are no medals here, no parades, just results, just quiet systems that hum in the background and make things safer, steadier. I like it this way. I see girls walk into my classroom who remind me of myself at 25. Eyes sharp, shoulders pulled tight like they're bracing for a wave. I teach them how to hold still, how to listen to silence, how to build without being seen, how to lead without being followed. One of them asked me last month, "What if they don't believe in me?" I handed her a circuit board and said, "Make it believe in you." She did. They always do. It's strange, isn't it? How power doesn't feel like thunder. It feels like breath. In, out, in, out. It feels like a calm voice in a firestorm, like knowing where the map ends and walking past it anyway. They never gave me a seat at their table, not when I was right, not when I was quiet, not when I was bleeding competence across their spreadsheets. And now I don't want their table. I built my own, with steadier legs, with women who won't ask permission to speak, with systems that don't buckle when the spotlight fades. We don't need applause. We need impact. We don't need permission. We need each other. So I wake up, I brew my coffee, I walk down the hill with a notebook tucked under my arm. I unlock the library room, open the blinds, roll up my sleeves, and teach the next woman how to never be erased, because I remember now, I was never a scrap. I was steel. I was always steel. And when they wouldn't give me a seat at their table, I built my own command.